Welcome everybody, and thank you for joining the open mic stage at the Festival of Discovery. I'm so excited to be here again, the same as last year, to bring you the real stories of what people are doing on the ground in their communities and to help us all have a better world in which to live in. I'm going to quickly introduce you to the three amazing speakers we've got today, so that you can see them all. And we have, as you say, some amazing women that are going to talk about the difference they are making in their local communities and hopefully wider afield. So I just want to introduce you to them all, which is Helen, Eugenie and Hannah. And I think we have representatives from England, Wales and Scotland today. So nearly all four nations. I could say I've got Northern Irish roots, but that doesn't quite cut it, does it? We'll do better next time. So I'm going to just put Eugenie and Hannah back into the waiting room and they can watch from around, and I'm just going to welcome Helen first to our stage. Oh, how exciting it is to meet you, Helen. How are you doing? And would you like to introduce yourself and let people know where you are and what you're up to?
Thank you, Tracy. Thank you so much for inviting me as well. I'm a little bit gobsmacked, a little bit overawed, and a little bit excited to be talking about my favourite place, which is Bramblewood. I live in Worcester and I work in Worcester now. I started with a colleague a little woodland space. We didn't know what we were doing when we started. We didn't know what was going to happen when we started. But I was a forest school leader and was once a speech and language therapist. And my daughter and son went to the same school as my now colleague. And one school pickup time, Sam was dragged over to me by her son. He knew that I did forest school at the school sometimes. And he said, Mrs. Verist, you know a little bit about nature. Where can we do nature as a family? And he was a bit older than the little ones that usually go to the local things. And I said, I don't know. I don't think there is anywhere. Shall we start something? And so we started a little nature club in school. And then Matthew's mum started to say, this is a lot better than working in a room with no windows. Is there another way of doing this that we could do it a bit more and share it with a few more people? So we kind of did a bit of a what if? I wonder what it would be like if we found somewhere, a piece of woodland somewhere that we could set up something where children and families could go and play and learn in nature. So began an 18-month search for a piece of woodland, which we found, which was incredible. So began Bramblewood. We were very lucky to find the right person in Worcester City Council to speak to. I'm very lucky to happen upon this little tiny patch of woodland, which we managed to take the lease for, somehow created a CIC, all along just thinking, shall we just try this? Shall we just take the next step? And there came a little place for forest school. I think I've got a picture, number one, Tracy, of the early days at Bramblewood. That one with us looking properly stunned. It was a very cold winter day, and that was the first day we met Bramblewood. And you can see in the central picture the bramble. There was a lot of bramble and a lot of litter. And yeah, that began a long journey, a very slow journey, gently tiptoeing through the space to find a forest school. Yeah.
Did you call it Bramblewood then because of the brambles, or was it already called that?
So it's a little canal side slither of land. It's 1.2 acres. It sits between allotments and a canal, which is perfect because it's peaceful and quiet. And no, we had to cut through all the bramble, cut paths through the bramble to find clearings, to find a hazel copse. And And eventually we realised that the name ought to be Bramblewood, because bramble is such an important part of it now. It's the journey was fascinating, because Sam is a nurse, I'm a speech and language therapist by profession, and picture 2 will just sum it up for us. Actually, we didn't know what things were that we were finding, and we decided not to find out. We decided to do it through curiosity and playfulness. So we became acquainted with utter beauty. We met bramble in many shapes and forms: badgers, foxes, muntjac deer, all sorts, and gradually learned what things were by watching and seeing them rather than trying to name them. And then people started arriving. We spoke with lots of people about what we were doing. People were interested, and as with many projects like this, I imagine people started to arrive. Volunteers from local spaces, from the allotments, from the city council, from further afield as well, came and offered us help. And probably about 18 months later, having been gently tiptoeing through, we opened our forest school, which we've got pictures of that, slide 4. So our woodland space began, really. That's our forest school hearth, around which all manner of lovely things happen. We have a mud kitchen where you can make singing soup, which actually does make you sing if you pretend to drink it. And the children at forest school, they arrive, 20 children, they arrive and they take charge. Now it's their space. They will make the hot chocolate for each other. They will saw the wood, prepare the fires. They make the games up. We're allowed to join in if we are really, really very good about ourselves. And it's their space. We look after them. They look after it. And they've become to know the wood really, really well, which is beautiful to see them playing in it. Then we had lockdown, and we had started building a composting toilet so that we could start helping adults to enjoy the benefits of Bramblewood as well. And lockdown hit just after we'd had helped put our foundations in, and we just decided, Sam and I were there regularly watering trees that we'd had to put into the ground quickly, masked up, and we decided, well, what if we just started putting planks in vaguely the right places and planned it and tried to build the toilet, so that when we opened, we could open sooner after lockdown and offer the wellbeing benefits of Bramblewood to adults in the community as well. And so slide 5 will show you what happened over a period of 5 or so months, which is really quite hard to believe. Sam and I donned our masks, and we just got learning and building, and a local builder came and helped us and taught me how to use a hammer properly. We had help to build a scaffold from somebody who makes play structures. I built the stairs. Like, I'm a speech therapist, but I built the stairs, which blew my brain away.
That is awesome.
It was an absolute saving grace. We learned so much about ourselves and about having a playful approach to stuff. You don't have to know it all to start with. You can just starting is the thing, and going, what if I just try that? And if I can't, I'm sure if I ask, somebody will be able to help me with this or advise me or that kind of thing. And we found just the right people, or they found us. I think it's that way around, actually. It seems that if there's a need, the right people or the right things tend to show up. So we reopened after lockdown, but we reopened not just to children, but to adults as well. We really were evangelical about the impact of Bramblewood and being outside on ourselves, and wanted to share it. There is a space for adults and children alike to have a well-being place outdoors. I was leaving Bramblewood today, and I asked it as I left, how do I best represent you, Bramblewood? What do I say to whoever will be watching? Because I'm nervous and I haven't got the right words. And I just spent some time there, and I looked around and I thought, whatever I come to Bramblewood with, whatever I come to this woodland space with, whatever anybody brings is welcome, because Bramblewood and any natural space is so diverse and so can hold so much life, so many different sorts of creatures and plants and things, that it can hold anything we bring. And every day when you arrive, whatever you feel like, you leave feeling nourished and better and part of something bigger, part of the world, and a world that's functioning, a system that's working well within itself. So yeah, it's a good place.
It sounds beautiful, and I think you can go back to Bramblewood and say you've represented it hugely well. I mean, the talk of joy and curiosity and the passion that comes through and the emotion about actually creating such a space for people to play. And honestly, I'm absolutely with you on adults playing and being out in nature. I think it's an absolutely beautiful thing. I think we will have questions for you, but I might save them till the end, Helen.
Lovely.
And I think everybody will agree that was really passionate, and it was really lovely to hear. And I can't wait to when I'm down in that neck of the woods.
You're really welcome, Tracy.
Thank you. That was so inspiring. And we will come back to Helen a little bit later. I could talk to these people each for a good half hour anyway. I'm now going to bring Eugenie on to talk to you. So Eugenie has been working in Scotland, and she is, I guess, an equally passionate woman about what she's doing. Eugenie, would you like to introduce yourself and let people know what you've been doing up in Scotland?
Thank you, Tracy, and thank you for welcoming us on this forum. That's really good. And I just want to say to Helen, that was really inspiring, and I think it's that kind of thing where you start a project not knowing really that you are actually doing a project, and I think you kind of follow your inner curiosity about what's missing on your landscape. So we are based in Rutherglen, which is southeast of Glasgow, just on the outskirts. And where the project started 6 years ago was really about being mums with young children, spending a lot of time in the park and realizing that actually there isn't much there for children to really kind of submerge themselves into a green space, and with activities around it that allows people to really connect. So we contacted the local council and asked if there was potential for us to actually use a small part of the park to actually start doing some food growing activities. And they left us a little space, which very soon we got to engage with local other groups in terms of building raised beds through the local, similar to Men's Shed, because it's welcoming women too, and they built the raised beds for us, and that was really the start. It was really about having a space where people can just, it's opened and anyone can come in and use it. Then we found out about the Eden project and the big lunch, and started our first big lunch in the park, and that was really about trying to connect with our community and really about trying to figure out how people would connect to green spaces too. So we did the first big lunch, and actually was really overwhelmed with about 150 people attending, and we had a local band and storyteller, and it was really a lovely thing to do. Then we were invited by the Eden project, the camp, and that was 5 years ago, and where we actually met with Incredible Edible, and listening to the project, it kind of resonated with us. We felt that this was really the approach we wanted to have. And the small piece of land that we were given by the council was only about 5 square meters of land, so it was really small. And we felt that we needed to look at other ways to connect with our community. So we kind of looked at all the small pockets of green spaces that we could find outside the park, and using the same concept of using that space to actually grow and share with the community. Adopted a local train station, Rutherglen train station, and got some planters and had some herbs and strawberries, and a lot of the plants were also to increase the biodiversity locally. And so each year we went on doing a big lunch, and that becomes a bit our signature kind of event within the community. Everyone looks forward to it. While this was happening, we felt that our community really, while we were volunteers and getting to find out what was happening on the ground, we actually realized that loads of organizations were doing amazing stuff, but we didn't know how to access it. And we felt that if we as volunteers couldn't access that kind of information, then how could the wider community get to understand what was happening? So we set up a green network in which really it was about avoiding duplication of effort, trying to work in partnership wherever we could, apply for funding together, share resources, skills, knowledge, and really actually have a much bigger impact within the community than just working in silo. So that was really important to us. Then we realized that we wanted to grow a bit bigger, because now we had ambitions, really. Actually, we wanted to grow and attract more people. And so we actually went to see within the local park, there's a bowling club which has 4 greens, and four bowling greens, of which only 1 is in use, and the other 3 were fenced off within the park, but none of the community could access. And so we approached the bowlers and said, could we help you with this land, and could we use this for a community project? And that was really the beginning of a much bigger kind of a project, which we're not equipped. We're not landscapers, gardeners, project managers, planners, anything. We just learnt on the go. And I think that's what's so magical about the journey that we take on, is that actually you just don't know what skills you're going to be needing, but you will need them along the way, and you'll find the strength and knowledge to actually go in and push it a bit further and find out how you can get to where you need to go. And so we went through an asset transfer for the 3 disused bowling green, which just happened in 2020 for at least for 15 years. And that's really going to be the hub, because as much as we did lots of growing activities, about 18 different sites that we grow on, people still didn't know who Grow 73 was, and we just felt how can we get people to really know who we are? And we felt that actually having a piece of land where you can just put a massive banner saying this is who we are, and welcome people on a regular basis in the same spot was really important. So that's really the beginning of the next big chapter, because it's a ground that has nothing on it apart from a composting toilet, which we're really proud of, because there's nothing in the area for to come. And as part of that, we also did a lot of growing activities in schools, developing gardening clubs. And then lockdown arrived, and then we were just like, how can we engage with this community that's really isolated, and who are quite keen to get out, and were starting to get really into what we were doing. And so we started a beeline, and this was really to join all the different areas that we had been doing some growing in, and actually develop more to address biodiversity and increase pollinators in the area. And for that, we had made connection with all the communities attached to of those green spaces. We actually created some growing kits which had vegetables and nectar-rich flowers, and we delivered over 750 growing kits to the community, so that during lockdown, while they were at home, they had something that they could nurture. knowing that they were part of a bigger project, and during their physical kind of walking allowance per day during the lockdown, they could have gone to the beeline and actually plant their own plants along the way.
Mhm.
And that
Fabulous.
has been the most successful project we've had so far.
It sounds incredible. We've had a question from Lindsay, who said, what do you plant to boost biodiversity?
Oh, well. Let me just, I'm just not.
Well, we cannot.
Oh,
We can all come back to this.
A good one. Forage is an
Forage.
easy
Yeah.
self-seed. Nasturtiums is a good one because it's really floral and it can have a big kind of impact. An easy one. Marigolds are good ones as well because they're self-seeds. There's quite a varied selection, but those were part of the kits that actually those were the ones that we actually passed on to as part of our growing kits.
Yeah.
I can supply the whole list if people want.
Yeah, we'll pop it on later. It sounds incredible and very similar to what Helen was saying, that actually I do wonder sometimes if we wonder how big our projects are going to grow, whether we take them on in the first place. Because it's like if someone said, oh, we're going to do asset transfer or set up a community interest company, you'd be like, no, I'm not running this way. But actually when things grow and you develop the skills as you go along, it just seems the next step. Is incredible. Right, I'm going to have to let you go back to the green room and bring out Hannah, but I think hearing both yours and Helen's experience so far is absolutely inspirational to people watching, about actually when you take that first step, you don't know what journey you're going to go on, and it's thrilling, I think. Thank you, Eugenie. Thank you. So last but by no means least, Hannah, welcome to the stage. And I might leave you on it by yourself. No, I'll stay with you. So Hannah is going to share a presentation with us today. But firstly, do you want to just introduce yourself, Hannah, and explain what you're doing, I believe, in Wales?
Yes, thank you, Tracy. Thanks so much for inviting me. Yeah, I'm in South Wales. My name's Hannah. And I'm from Green Squirrel. We're a community interest company and we're very tiny. There's just 2 of us. And I was hoping to share the story of Railway Gardens with you today. And yeah, I did bring a bit of a show and tell because our site's quite different to the ones we've heard about already, in that right now it's not very green, but we want to change that. So yeah, thank you very much. That's fantastic. So I can only echo what Helen and Eugenie have said in terms of, if I'd known what this was going to turn into and all the different hats I'd be wearing to try and help bring this project to life, I don't know whether I would have taken it on, but these things snowball. So to start at the start, I'm going to go back to 2014 when our organisation, Green Squirrel, were asked to support our local community garden called Edible Adamsdown. And this was a group of local people who were taking on an old community garden that had sort of got a little bit left behind and uncared for. And they did a fantastic job regenerating this garden, such a good job that they asked us to help them look for some extra space to grow. They'd just outgrown it so fast. And it always gives me a bit of a shock seeing this picture, because it's 2014. In this picture, I was pregnant with my first child, and she's now 6.5, and we're just starting to build our site. So it always just scares me how much time has gone. But this is where our story started, in this community garden. So we went hunting for other bits of land and talked to, people locally, found a few things that weren't quite right. And then we spotted this, just brambles and ivy growing behind a fence. And we started asking, what's in there? Like, whose land is this? And can we use it? We found out, actually, really, really interesting story that we didn't know till much later. It was Cardiff Council owned land. And underneath all of these brambles and shrubs and things was a abandoned children's playground, which had been opened in 1990, closed just a few years later because of antisocial behaviour, and just left to rust. No additional facilities were put in anywhere else to replace it. Local families had to deal with the loss of their playground. And it was still all under there. So So we started conversations with the council about whether we could use it, and they were really positive. They sounded like, yeah, sure, you can use this. It was due to be used, cleared and used by contractors working on the rail first, but then we could have it. So we started holding lots of conversations in our local area, lots of community consultation at lots of different venues, lots of flyering, lots of street parties, lots of work with primary schools, like some mapping, and it snowballed. Our area we're in Splot in Cardiff, and it's got a lot of challenges in the area, and it's really proactive, amazing community, but not much space for the community to do stuff. So very quickly, what had started out as a bit more space for community growing became something a lot more ambitious. And it was all getting very exciting. And then out of the blue, in October of 2018, we had an email from the council saying, whoops, sorry, you can't have that space. We want to build flats on it. It was gutting. The whole community had put a lot of work in. We didn't know what to do. So we took a bit of a temperature check with the community and said, do you want to keep fighting this? Should we rock up at the council offices? Should we do a petition? Should we go to the media? Everyone's like, yes, let's keep fighting this. Let's keep fighting this. And for the next few months, we just pushed and pushed. We showed up at the council offices. We had difficult meetings. We got camera crews down. And as an amazing surprise early Christmas present, one evening, I was at my colleague's house. We were having a late night meeting about something completely different. And the person we were meeting with captured the moment when we got a text message from someone in the council going, oh, go on then, you can have it. They gave us the land. They gave us it for 20 years, 20-year lease. So since then, it's been a roller coaster of planning. So the community have co-produced this plan for what's going to be on the site. It's mega. It's got community allotments, it's got beehives, it's got a hub building, an outdoor classroom, and it's got shipping container workshops for small businesses. It's got a library of things so people can borrow stuff. It's a big plan. It's very ambitious. We signed the lease, which took a while, but we got there in the end. We got it for 20 years. So this is the big day of signing in front of the gates. We made as much use of the empty site as we could. So litter picks, plant giveaways, play sessions, repair cafes, just trying to build momentum and get people on. We did a lot of fundraising, which was a very painful process at times, as I'm sure everybody else here knows. And a week ago, we broke ground on the site after 6 years of planning and preparation, and we had a fantastic community festival on the site. And as I speak, well, hopefully not as I speak because it's dark now, but but right now we've got building happening. It's happening. And I appreciate I've waited on, but I did put one more photo and I wanted to show you because this is me back in 2019 at the Eden Communities Camp, and I came in the autumn after a week in London with Extinction Rebellion, which was quite full on, and at a point in our project where I just did not think it was going to happen. It was just a mess and really, really tough. And I came to Communities Camp and I made a really weird lantern, the lantern parade, and I came away with everything I needed to keep going. So when you got in touch about this event today and invited us to speak, I was so delighted to, because I'm not sure this project would be being built right now if it wasn't for that experience and giving me that confidence and those skills I needed. So I did want to say thank you.
Wow, that's awesome. Thank you so much. And we don't get that feedback, so that's an added bonus for us to know that it really helped. I'm going to welcome back everybody. I think you all deserve an absolutely round of applause. And I think your stories are one of gentle sort of footsteps and progress, and people just following their passion. We hear so much about people who go, what is your passion? What is it you want to do? And then actually, if you can follow that into sort of community action, then it's more likely to succeed. I just wondered whether either or any of you just had any final words for those people watching about if they were going to start on their journey. We might have put them off now, knowing how big it can get. But for people watching this and hearing those wonderful stories and journeys that you've gone on, how do you think you would encourage them to take that first step? Or what would you say? What would be your tip? And I'm going to go to you first. No, Hannah, I'll go to you because you're still unmuted. What would be your tip?
I'd say that unless your idea gets out into the world, it won't happen. So start talking to people. Just talk to everybody about it. Send out emails, get in touch with local businesses, like anybody and everybody. Say, I want to do this and who wants to come along with me? And I think it was Helen that said it. The people who need to come, the skills that need to come, resources, it'll happen. But not until that idea is out there in the world. So yeah, start talking.
Wonderful. That's really wonderful. We often talk about finding your anchors. So who are the people that might help you do this? Eugenie, what would you say to those people watching? Oh, I think we might be struggling. Are you there, Eugenie? I think I'm just going to move over to Helen then. Sorry, Helen. Thought you got away with it for a bit longer. Helen, what would your tips or ideas, or what would you say to those people listening?
I would say be playful. Just think, hold the what if, or how would it be if, and just start, no matter how tiny it is, because if you stop again 3 days later, there's still a net gain. You've still started something that wasn't ever there before, and you don't know, like you could be putting the baby steps forward and you don't know what help you're going to step on next and be lifted onto the next level. There's so many people keen to support stuff, and just start. Don't think too hard. You don't need to know beforehand. Start and you'll learn what you need.
That's beautiful. Thank you. And Eugenie popped out for a minute there. Are you back with us?
I'm back.
Yes.
I think I would echo what Helen has said. I think if you start thinking too much about what it could be, you don't really know what it's going to be, because it's very organic. And I think connecting with communities is really the most important thing, is finding out what people want to see, have a lot of discussions, have informal. I mean, the big lunch was a really easy medium in which to invite people in a very simple manner, and then start having a conversation about what they would like to see happening in their community.
Beautiful. Thank you. And I think, thank you. I think as you all will thank these amazing women who have joined us today. And I think the thing is, ask for help, be hopeful, and just make a start. And please come back and tell us all about it when you do. And there's a huge network of people out there that I'm sure you can tap into experience, and carry on joining us on the stage or at the Festival of Discovery, and find out more, and hopefully get some more confidence and inspiration where you can. And if you would be kind enough to spend a minute or two to fill in our survey, then we can give these wonderful women some feedback about how they may have helped you. So I thank you all very much, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Goodbye, everybody.